Welcome back. It's our fourth coach and Rick Corey Sports Special. And right there, that's Loren Montgomery. We've been doing this by radio for so long. I hadn't seen the inside of the office. Now I see video screens, so I'm sure you've been watching tape.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of tape to watch, a lot of corrections to make after last week, certainly, and turning the page. And we'll have our first home game tomorrow against Sand Springs here at Bixby High School for Military Appreciation Night.
All right, let's go back to the Owasso game. You told me on the radio back in the spring, you said, you know what, we've got some rebuild to do. We got some young guys. Now that you've had a time to look at the film, you kind of assess that. Is part of this that you've got some young guys, you're trying to integrate things?
Well, hopefully, a lot of the things that we see on tape are correctable. We brought back 5 returning starters off last year's team, one on defense, and then 4 on offense, and really put ourselves in a position to win the ball game. It's a 5-point game in the fourth quarter, and never really were able to reach out and grab that game like we needed to, like I would expect a veteran team to do. So we've got a lot of work to do. Turnovers, we lost the turnover battle. Turned the ball over specifically in the red zone a couple of times. Got into the red zone, didn't get points 4 different times. And so got to figure out a way to get better in a couple different areas. And we're still trying to figure out our identity just a little bit. But wow, what an awesome opportunity to have a first game like the Owasso Rams, a veteran Owasso Ram team, very talented team, to expose some of your weaknesses early.
Well, and some of what I saw on film, I was broadcasting a game on Friday, but I watched the tape. Some of what I saw on film, pretty good coverage, but you got a young man who scores 3 touchdowns against you. Half the time he's covered, just makes great plays. Not that you don't want your guy to make that play, but there's some stuff in there that's hard to, I mean, DNA is DNA. I mean, some of that stuff's tough.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think the higher level of football you go, the more parity it comes down to those guys that are able to make plays. And Bethel, the wide receiver, that transferred in
Yep.
to Owasso this year. I mean, we knew he was a good player. We had seen some good things on film, but he really blew up and showed how talented he was, and made some good plays. And then also a few of those plays, we weren't in position, or were in position and didn't make the play. And so some things that we have to do to grow up, and certainly our staff is working hard on that now.
You talked about things that are correctable, and obviously you spent some time doing that in practice this week. When you have a young team, people tell me all the time, or coaches will tell me, it's really dependent on how you coach them. What are they used to? Now, these guys are used to the Bixby way. So, how's the week gone? How's those corrections gone?
Well, it's been good. I mean, the worst part about football is when you lose a game, you got to wait a week to play. If it's baseball, you might turn around and play a doubleheader and be able to get that taste out of your mouth. And so, we evaluated the film on Saturday and took a long, hard look at it and gave the kids some things to work on. And then we've been out at practice, and I feel like tempo has been pretty good this week at practice, and guys are working to correct some of those mistakes. And hopefully we're able to do that against a very good Sand Springs team that has an excellent quarterback.
Yeah, you always say you get the best, you improve the most, game one to game two. Have you seen some of that this week in practice?
Well, I think we'll probably see it on game tape for sure. And then we've seen some of those mistakes corrected this week in practice. Obviously, things that we're isolating and trying to focus on considerably. And so, yes, both. But I know it's cliche that you make the most progress from week 1 to week 2, but it's true.
Mhm.
A lot of those guys, played meaningful snaps last year, cleanup duty, JV stuff, but it's not like the real thing. And so we're kind of getting a taste of that, and our guys will grow up.
Now, at the other side of things, you had to see some things you liked. You had good quarterback play. There were some things that did go well. What did you see you were really pleased with?
Yeah, I tell you what, felt like our inside linebackers, of course, both those guys are veterans, Cooper Parker and Cord Nolan. They were good. Every year we have a couple of seniors that start for the first time, and that's why we focus on developing student athletes the way we do at Bixby. And one of those guys, Brooks Dixon, a senior safety, had a phenomenal game. Did some really, really good stuff. And I think is showing his maturity and his leadership, and that's something that we're looking for all of our guys to do. So, got some good performances out of a lot of individual guys. Just need to collectively do it. And in football, all 11 guys have to be doing the right thing in order for it to be successful.
One thing you mentioned there, you talk about personality of a team, and I love to talk to coaches about that when seasons begin. Yours has been so set at Bixby. These guys come in fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade in your program, and they know what the personality is going to be. When you look at the end of the day, that's a grind, that's a work mentality. Are you seeing it from this group?
Yeah, and we've got guys at different levels. Our senior guys, our guys that have been around, they understand what practices are supposed to look like. They understand what the intensity is supposed to look like, the focus that everyone has to be selfless and pulling on the same end of the rope. And the majority of our younger guys do as well. And so we've got a few pieces to the puzzle that we've got to continue to grow and mature. And that's something that our team has shown this week in practice and has been working really hard towards.
Obviously, it was a kind of a heck of a crowd out there as well, which I'm sure you're going to have at Bixby as well. And you guys are beginning to develop. Well, actually, I don't. I shouldn't say beginning. You've had a pretty good rivalry with Sand Springs. I know Bobby Klink loves to come play that game. I know you're familiar with Bobby. What are you seeing out of Sand Springs?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, they've got their best player is their quarterback, and as a head football coach, if your best player is your quarterback, you feel pretty good about things. Bobby's mentioned that it's the fastest team that they've had, and I agree with that. They've got excellent wide receivers, good tailback, several really good offensive linemen, and then defensively, got several returning starters back, particularly some good players up front on their interior defensive line. And so we're going to have our work cut out for us. They've got a good team. They've had two really good scrimmages against Carl Albert and Deer Creek, two excellent opponents. And so, yeah, it should be a great ball game, and a good environment on Friday night.
You've been around a lot of great players, a lot of great teams. How do you see this one maturing? Where do you think you have the chance to have the greatest jumps?
Well, our skill guys, we've got some really good skill guys that are just young. And so I mentioned earlier that we're going to have to develop an identity. We've got a really good quarterback, a couple of really good offensive linemen. And so finding what concepts we're good at, what tempo we're good at, how we're going to execute that, and then continuing to grow our defensive line. We've got a lot of really young guys and guys with inexperience up front on our defensive line that really you can only get better through repetition. And so those guys are getting more repetition and get more familiar with their assignments. And so we expect to continually progress every single week and really have exponential growth with such a young team. I think every single week, all the way up until the playoff time, you should just see us continuing to get better.
That's the case for, every coach wants to get better every week. I get that. But your guys have been so good early on, and you just kind of rolled through people for such a long time, especially in those long winning streaks. When you have a team that's young like this and you're going to see them progress, I don't want to ask if it's more exciting, but is there more of a challenge there? And as a coach, when you go out there to practice every day, is it even maybe a little more fun?
Well, it is. And, we kind of went through this when we made the jump from 6A2 to 6A1. It was just a little bit of an unknown as far as you're playing new opponents. We had several guys on the schedule that we had never played in Bixby. And so that sort of unknown component of it. And we have that just a little bit this year with such a young team, such a young dynamic that it is unknown. And it's like our staff said, we're going to have to coach our tails off, and we're going to have to grow, and we're going to have to get better, each and every week. And I'm confident that we're going to do that.
I was going to ask at one point, you used to have a TikTok star on the team. Do you have another TikTok star on the team?
Well, I don't know that we have another one, but Cowboy Creesh, I think, is his TikTok
Yep.
handle. And he was actually on the sidelines last week. He had texted and said, "Hey, coach, can I get a sideline pass?" And we always try to hook up our alumni and former players anytime they want to be on the sidelines. That's so special to have those guys down there with us, whether they're TikTok stars or not TikTok stars. We like to have alumni in our foxhole with us.
And speaking of alumni, I had to ask you about the Presley brothers because I mean Brennan has been a tremendous player. He's a great young man too. I got a chance to visit with him during Pokes with a Purpose, and he had a great first week for Oklahoma State. But it was really good to see Braylon after getting the glasses come out. Had a really good first game, got his touchdown on the reverse. You had to be pleased to see that. When you watch those guys, what kind of feelings do you get?
Well, we're just thrilled when our guys go on to the next level and are able to compete and play and do so well. Braylon was actually, since they played on Thursday night, he was actually on our sidelines too on Friday night. Obviously, his younger brother, Braden, is a starter for us and a good player and played well the other night. But yeah, those guys doing well. I know also had a couple other guys. Brody Duffel is the second team
Yes.
offensive tackle for Tulsa. And then Cowboy, I think he's back for like his seventh year. Ethan Hall at tight end, doing some really good stuff, just playing so hard. We like to see that. And then this week, with Brennan playing for Oklahoma State, and then they're playing Arkansas, I believe. You'll have the Has boys there as well. And
Right.
so our next level Spartans, as we call it, and we put out a graphic and we try to remember so many. We have so many guys playing on Saturdays, but we put out a graphic last week. We love seeing those, and we take so much pride in our guys. And something else that a lot of feedback we get that makes you proud is when we talk to other coaches and say, hey, those Presleys or those Has boys or those Pucketts or wherever it is and whoever it is, man, they were ready when they stepped on this field. They were developed. They've been part of a good weight program. They've been part of a good football program, and so they were able to play sooner at the next level. And so that's something we take a lot of pride in as well.
Well, I'll tell you on and that along those lines, in my meetings at the University of Tulsa when I'm preparing to broadcast those games, I've had coaches there say there's a difference in these metro teams that I see when these come in. And I was told recently by one of the coaches, we've just got to do a better job, they said, of making sure we're recruiting guys who know what winning is, how to win. If you're at a Bixby, at a Union, at a Jinx, at a Broken Arrow, at a Owasso, who have been used to doing that and gotten that kind of coaching. You see it too, because as they come out of your youth program, it's not quite the same level. I know this college to high school, but you see the same things coming out of your own youth program, don't you? Kids who know how to win.
It's hard to quantify, but yeah, there's something to it. It's a confidence deal. When kids expect to win, they're going to make those plays in critical situations, and when they expect to lose, likewise. And so, that's something that it's a learned trait. Few guys have it innately, but it's something that you have to teach your team. So when the game's hanging in the balance, you can go up and make that play. You can win that ball game.
I got to think there's something else in your office because it's kind of Spartan right behind you there. You have like pictures of the family? You got any personal stuff in there? What else do you keep in your office?
Well, so we're moving into a new facility. This actually isn't my office. This is just a meeting room that I'm in. Literally yesterday, just got furniture in our new offices. We moved into our locker room last Saturday. By the way, Rick, you're gonna have to come out and check it out. It's the best
Yes.
locker room in the country, period. I'm telling you, it's so special. And so things are a little bit in disarray right now. We're transitioning, but to finally, we've spent the entire off season. They started busting out walls and tearing things down the Monday after the state championship game last year. We've been lockering out of a old cafeteria just across campus there, and so now to get moved into one facility, and they're hooking technology up. The last couple of days as we go. So we're really looking forward to utilizing this new facility and growing in it, and just providing the best playing experience we can for our players, and being the best at developing student athletes.
That is so cool. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll come out sometime. We'll just do this on site in your locker room sometime.
I'd love that.
Lauren, it's great. Thank you very much. I know you've been very busy. Appreciate the time. We're going to change. We'll be talking to Lauren normally on Mondays, and we'll get to that next week. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.